You are sitting beside a fire that everyone has stopped noticing. It has always been there. It cracks in the dark, it pushes smoke into the cave roof, and it turns the faces around you orange. Then, sometime before dawn, it goes out. No thunder. No predator. No great disaster. Just ash, cold stones, and a thin gray breath rising from the place where warmth used to be. At first, nobody moves, because for most of human history, losing fire was not like losing a tool. It was more like losing a second sun. And the most frightening part is this. For a long stretch of deep prehistory, your ancestors may have known how to keep fire alive before they always knew how to make it again. So what happens when the fire goes out? To answer that, you have to forget the modern idea of fire as something easy. Today, fire hides inside matches, lighters, gas stoves, batteries, wires, engines, and power grids. You press a button, and heat appears. You flick a wheel, and flame obeys. But your body did not evolve in that world. Your body evolved in a world where fire was rare, dangerous, precious, and alive only as long as someone fed it. Archaeologists have found very old traces of fire deep in time, but the story is not simple. At Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, researchers connected with the Wonderwerk Cave project, including Leora Kolska-Horwitz and Michael Chazan, have studied burned bone and ash inside a cave where natural wildfires could not easily reach. The evidence suggests that ancient human relatives were using fire there more than 1 million years ago. Using fire. Not necessarily making fire whenever they wanted. That difference matters. A group could collect flame from a natural wildfire started by lightning. They could carry a burning branch back to shelter. They could protect embers overnight under ash. They could feed dry grass, bark, and wood into a small glowing core. But if that core died completely, the problem changed. Now you did not have fire. You had memory, and memory cannot warm your hands. Picture the scene. It is early morning, the ground is cold, the sky outside is pale blue, but the inside of your shelter is still dark. The children wake first, because cold reaches small bodies fast. An older person coughs. Someone pushes a stick into the ashes and waits for a hidden red glow. Nothing. They stir deeper. Nothing. Someone blows gently, because sometimes fire is not dead. Sometimes it only sleeps. But no red point answers. The fire is gone. Nobody screams. That would waste energy. But every face changes. Because fire is not only heat, fire is cooked food. Fire is light after sunset. Fire is smoke that drives insects away. Fire is a warning to animals that do not like bright moving flames. Fire is the center around which bodies gather, stories move, tools are repaired, and children learn who belongs to them. Without it, the group is suddenly smaller, not in number, in power. The first problem is food. Before fire, meat can still be eaten, but it is harder to chew, harder to digest, and more dangerous when it is old. Roots and tubers can hold toxins or tough fibers. Cooking softens food. It breaks some plant defenses. It makes many calories easier for the body to use. Richard Wrangham, the primatologist behind the cooking hypothesis, argued that cooking helped shape human bodies by making food softer and more energy-rich. Not every detail of that idea is settled, and archaeology still debates exactly when cooking became a daily habit. But the basic point is easy to feel. Take away fire, and dinner becomes work again. Longer chewing, riskier meat, harder plants, less warmth, and less time. The second problem is night. Without fire, darkness arrives differently. Today, darkness is mostly an inconvenience. A bulb fixes it. A screen pushes it away. A streetlight cuts it into pieces. But in a Paleolithic camp, night is not empty. It has sounds. It has eyes. It has cold air sliding across skin. It has the possibility of hyenas, leopards, wolves, bears, or other predators depending on where and when your ancestors lived. Fire does not create a magical shield. Hungry animals can still be dangerous. But flame changes the rules. It gives humans distance, visibility, and confidence. It allows a group of fragile bodies with no claws and no thick fur to sit together and become something larger. Without fire, the dark moves closer. The third problem is trust, because someone had a job. In many small-scale societies, fire is not treated like a casual object. It is tended, protected, shared, carried. People bank embers under ash, move coals in bark containers, wrap smoldering material, and plan around fuel. But the logic is clear. If fire matters, someone must watch it. And if it goes out, the group has to decide why. Was the wood damp? Did the rain come through the shelter? Did the person on watch fall asleep? Did the group camp too far from good fuel? Did everyone assume someone else was feeding it? This is where the story becomes painfully human. The fire goes out, and the problem is no longer only survival. It is blame. You can imagine an elder kneeling by the ash, not shouting, just touching the cold dust with 2 fingers. You can imagine a hunter looking toward the tree line, already calculating distance. You can imagine a mother pulling a child closer because the morning cold has become a warning. Then the group has choices. The first choice is to search for hidden embers. Charred wood can protect tiny pockets of heat. Ash can insulate. A piece of punky, rotten wood can smolder long after flame disappears. If one small coal remains, all is not lost. Dry grass, fine bark, breath, patience. A coal becomes a glow. The glow becomes smoke. Smoke becomes flame, and the whole camp exhales. But in this story, nobody finds a coal. The second choice is to make fire. That sounds simple, only because you have seen it done. Fire making is a skill, not a wish. Later humans used friction methods, where wood is rubbed or drilled until heat builds in fine dust. Others used stones and minerals, such as flint and iron pyrite, to create sparks that can catch in dry tinder. But evidence for very ancient fire-making is rare, and rare evidence does not mean nobody could do it. It means archaeology can only prove what survives. At Barnham in Suffolk, England, researchers led by Nick Ashton and Rob Davis at the British Museum reported a roughly 415,000-year-old hearth with heated clay, heat-shattered flint, and pieces of iron pyrite. Pyrite can throw sparks when struck against flint. If the interpretation is right, this is among the oldest direct evidence that ancient humans were deliberately making fire, not just carrying it. But your imagined camp may be older than that. Or it may be a group that knows fire well, but has not mastered reliable ignition. That is the terrifying gap. You can understand flame. You can cook with it. You can sleep beside it. You can even depend on it, and still not be able to summon it from nothing. So the third choice is to find fire somewhere else. That means movement. The group may climb to a high place and scan the horizon for smoke. They may remember a lightning storm 2 days away. They may know that grasslands burn in the dry season, that trees struck by lightning can smolder, that another human group may have fire. But every option costs energy. Walking toward smoke can mean walking toward danger. A fresh wildfire gives heat, but it also gives falling branches, frightened animals, and choking air. A distant camp gives hope, but also strangers. Strangers can share, trade, threaten, or refuse. Fire becomes politics. A coal can be a gift. A coal can be a weapon. A coal can be the difference between welcome and death. At Gesher Benot Ya'aqov, near the ancient shore of Lake Hula in what is now Israel, archaeologists found evidence of fire-related activity around 780,000 years ago. Researchers such as Nama Goran Inbar helped make the site famous for showing early human behavior near water, plants, stone tools, and burned material. Think about that. A lakeshore, stone tools, fish, heat. A group that knows exactly where the fire belongs in the rhythm of life. Now remove the fire. The lake is still there. The fish are still there. The stones are still sharp. The hands are still skilled. But a whole layer of possibility disappears. This is why the day the fire goes out is not just a survival problem. It is a cultural emergency. Culture is not only art, language, and ritual. Culture is also the remembered way to keep a coal alive. It is the person who knows which bark catches fastest. It is the child who learns not to scatter the ash. It is the old scar on someone's hand that teaches everyone else what not to touch. When fire dies, culture is tested. So the group searches. One person cracks dry branches. Another gathers grass. Someone checks under sheltered rocks for dry fibers. Someone walks outward, nose lifted, trying to smell smoke. Children are told to stay close. The youngest do not understand the whole danger, only that the adults have become quiet. Hours pass. The sun rises, and the cold becomes less urgent, but the fear does not disappear. Daylight can trick the body into hope. Night will return. And night is when the loss becomes real. By afternoon, hunger has changed the mood. Food that would have been roasted is now chewed slowly. Fat that would have melted into warmth stays tough. Roots that would have softened remain stubborn. The group eats less, not because food is absent, but because the missing technology has made food harder to become energy. This is the hidden power of technology. The spear is visible. The stone blade is visible. The fire is so familiar that it becomes invisible, until it is gone. At Qesem Cave in Israel, archaeologists, including Ron Barkai, found evidence of a repeatedly used central hearth, around 300,000 years old. A hearth is not just burned dirt. It is a place used again and again, a focus point where activity gathers. Burned bones and stone tools around such spaces suggest that fire had become part of daily organization. A central hearth changes social life. Bodies face inward. Hands work in shared light. Children watch adults repair tools. Food becomes smell before it becomes meal. Stories, warnings, and memory have a place to gather. So when the hearth is cold, the group is not only missing heat, it is missing its center. This is the counterintuitive twist. Fire made humans stronger, but it also made humans dependent. Every powerful technology does this. A thing begins as help, then it becomes habit. Then it becomes part of survival. And one day, when it disappears, you discover that your body and your culture have quietly reorganized around it. Your ancestors gained warmth, cooked food, protection, light, and social time, but they also gained a new vulnerability. The flame had to be fed. The ember had to be guarded. The skill had to be taught. The fuel had to be found. The camp had to be planned. Fire did not only free humans from nature, it tied humans to a new responsibility. By evening, the group has still found no flame. The sun lowers, shadows lengthen, the air cools again. Nobody wastes words. A few people prepare to walk farther at first light, if the night can be survived. Others arrange the camp differently, tighter than usual, bodies closer, stones and branches placed nearby, tools within reach. The oldest person may remember another time, a storm, a dead tree burning after lightning, a neighboring group beyond the ridge, a place where smoke sometimes rises. Memory becomes the map. The night without fire is long. No orange circle, no sparks rising, no smoke, only breath, bodies, and the black edge of the world. And yet this is important. Your ancestors were not helpless. They survived long before matches. They crossed landscapes. They tracked animals. They read weather, plants, stone, spore, wind, and each other with an attention most modern people never need. Losing fire was dangerous, but danger was not new. The group adapts. They huddle. They listen. They take turns staying awake. They wait for dawn. And maybe the next day, they find smoke. Maybe another group shares embers. Maybe lightning has left a tree smoldering. Maybe someone, after many failed attempts, strikes stone against pyrite, and a tiny spark lands in dry tinder. At first, it is almost nothing. A red dot, a thread of smoke, a fragile glow that could vanish with one careless breath. Everyone leans in, not too hard, not too fast. A little air, a little fiber, a little patience. Then flame. The first light is small, but the effect is enormous. Faces return. Hands move quickly. Children stare. Someone laughs, because the body sometimes releases fear as sound. The fire is back, and with it comes food, warmth, light, and the center of the camp. But nobody looks at it the same way. That is the real lesson. The past was not primitive because it lacked buttons, screens, and engines. The past was intelligent because every comfort had to be earned, guarded, and understood. Your life is also built around fires you barely notice. Electricity, clean water, refrigeration, internet signals, fuel, roads, hospitals, supply chains. They feel ordinary because they are always there, until they are not. And when one of them fails, even briefly, something ancient wakes up in your body. The same attention, the same unease, the same question your ancestors may have felt in the gray ash before dawn. Can anyone bring the light back? You are sitting beside a fire that everyone has stopped noticing, and now you understand why someone always had to watch it.